Anybody that knows me at all knows that I don't hate a deck unless I've played it. The reason that rule is there is because if I play it and I fall in love with it, I don't want to be a hypocrite. And this is one of those times. I have put down Invoked Eldritch after the YCS, and I've just decided to pick up something new. I needed something so I don't get burned out in the game. Was it. Yeah, Tenyi Swordsoul. It's a lot more fun to play than it is to watch, which is something I hear from everybody I talk to about this deck, is that it's not real fun to watch your opponent go Shishao, Baron, Blackout, Monk, Pass. That's not super fun, but actually doing the Monk, Baron's, Shishao combos is a lot more fun. Plus, the serotonin you get when you resolve like Chainlink 1, Shishao, Chainlink 2 Moe is insanely good. So, with that being said, let's just go into the deck. Kind of interesting to me because I've not played a synchro heavy deck in quite a long time. Like I think the last time I did was like back in my Teledad days, but even then it was like a Lightsworn synchro deck. It wasn't like an actual high heavy synchro deck. So 3 Ecclesia. This is Lone Fire for Moe or Taya. Like this is your best top deck. It's insanely good as a starter. Plus going second, it's really good. So you play 3. 3 copies of Moe. This is your best starter. Like if you resolve this and get Shishao, you are pretty much on your way to the races. 3 Longyuan. I'll be honest with you, this is probably my favorite card in the deck, just because if you like this always gets Veilered or Impermed or Shishao always gets hit or something like that, but this is not touchable by like anything. The fact that summons the token and itself from the hand is the same effect means it's dodging Imperm and Veiler. It's not ashable. The only hand trap that really hits this is like technically Nibiru and Token Collector, both of which are not really super relevant game one. So like this is like the best card to play through stuff. If you open Moe plus this, you can pitch a card, have the Moe, and then if this gets impermed, you just use the token that was summoned off of this to make Shishao. Then you search Blackout, and you have the draw off of Moe still. Like it's super fucking nice to play this. Plus it's great in time, and it's just the amount of times it's come up where you just burn for 12 in time is insane. Like this card is really dumb, and I love it. 2 copies of Taya. This is your best friend late game. You can revive it off of Summit, and it's searchable off of this. And then you just get resources. You don't have to have another card in hand like Longmon or Moe to resolve it, so it's really fucking nice. Plus, this gives you Adhara in the grave, which is really good for follow-up. I almost want to play 3 of this just because it genuinely comes up where you want the 3rd. But yeah, that's it for the Swordsoul stuff. Pretty standard. For the Tenyis, 3 copies of Ashuna. It's the best one. Like, this is your starter. If you have this plus any other Tenyi other than Chathana, you can do Shishao combo. Otherwise, it's just another way to play through hand traps. 2 copies of Adhara and 1 Chathana. I play this because I play Heavenly Dragon Circle, which lets you play through Imperm, but we'll get to that combo when we get to the card. And then 2 copies of Vishuddha. This is if you open Adhara, you summon this instead, or vice versa. Plus, it's really good going second. At one point, I even cited a 3rd one of this, just because going second plus with this plus Ecclesia was really nice, especially in the mirror match. 1 copy of Protoss. I don't know what people were saying when they say this card's fair. Like, especially in a local setting where you know what everyone's playing game 1, you can just drop this, call whatever relevant attribute, and then just basically win. Like, the amount of times I've just dropped this against, like Phantom Knights, for example, and they just can't summon Darks is crazy. In the mirror match, if you do the combo, instead of making Baron, you make Shishao, or not Shishao, Shenging. Drop this, call water, protect the Changing, and then banish 2 cards if they have something in the grave or on the field. This thing lets you play through Nibiru. It's really good late game because you can just drop this and then nuke the board. It's super fucking good. I don't know what people are saying. Like, the only thing that's comparable to this in this deck specifically is like IO, but that's about it. And then 3 copies of Veiler. In my opinion, this is the best hand trap right now, other than Imperm. Targeting Effect Negation is really good right now, if I'm honest with you, just because it stops the mirror match, which at my locals is extremely relevant. It's solid against PK because if they normal tour guide, this just stops them from playing entirely. And against everything else, it's just Veiler, which is really cool. Plus, it does come up on occasion where you want to turn off floodgates with this thing set effect, which is kind of cool. 2 Blackout, standard. Like, you side one of these out if you're going first, and then if you're going second, if you're going second, you side out one of these, and if you're going first, this thing's your best friend. Plus, you can dump this off Taya, and then late game you can play around Imperm and stuff by banishing this for cost. It's really nice. One copy of Summit. It's Reborn. This thing is really good late game. Again, this combos really well with Taya. Plus, if you have Long One Taya, you can just make Chi and then revive the Taya with this, and then keep going. It's really nice. 3 copies of Emergence. It's a Rhoda. You play 3 Rhoda. And 2 copies of Heavenly Dragon Circle. So I see people playing either this or Vessel, and I went with this specifically because I want to play around hand traps more than I rather would see the Tenyi cards. What this does is that if you normal Moyi and activate effect, and they chain Imperm, Valor, Chalice, or something that just affects or negates effects, this acts almost like a Super Poly, where you can just sack the card off, resolve its effect, and then you can search Shathana, which you'll have a token on the field, so you can just summon it with its own effect, and then sink 8 for Shishao and just keep playing anyway. So, and then 3 copies of Desires. This is the best deck to run Desires in, so you run 3 Desires. And then lastly, 3 copies of Chalice. I was playing Ash at one point, but I decided this was better. It's because it lets your going first hands be better. It's good game 2 and 3 because it deals with Scythe, as well as also dealing with Token Collector, which can be a problem on occasion. Otherwise, this just comes up where in damage step you can do this. You could argue these could be droplets. I decided not to play droplets, A, because I just saw them get the deck, and B, the deck doesn't really have a lot of ways to generate advantage outside of its main combo, so you'd rather just do this and do negation that way. And then going to the extra deck. It is pretty standard, except for like 1 or 2 cards. 2 Shishao, standard, it's your turn 1 board and your playmaker. I low-key love cards like this. Like, this card almost reminds me of Colossus, where it's a turn 1 play as well as a starter. Like, it does more than what it says on the tin, you know? And then 1 copy of Changing. This, like I said, this thing's done with Protoss in the mirror. This thing is really good going first if you don't have Baron, or if you just know what you're playing against. This thing is really good. Plus, being out to Dragoon, that gets super massive, is really nice. For the Yingxing cards, 2 Baxia, a Chao Feng, and a Yazi. I'm be honest with you, I make Yazi way more than I make Baxia. But every time I've made Baxia, I've made 2. Which is just weird. I've also not really used the Chao Feng combo to play around Nibiru. I feel like if I'm playing my hand right, I play around Nibiru naturally anyway. Especially if you open Longwan, you just do not worry at all. And if you're making Chao Feng, you kind of already have a good enough hand to just play around it anyway, so I don't see much of a reason to play this. It does come up on occasion where you can just make this against, like, Eldritch or something, and then it's just not a win, but otherwise I'd rather just make, like, Baron. Yazi's really cool. This is the one I make a lot, because Taya plus, Emergence is a 1-card Yazi, because you just Emergence for Taya effect, banish Emergence, level modulate, and then sink for 7, make this, and then summon pop a card, and then make Mogi, and then continue playing. Like, this is really cool. I like this a lot more. I might low-key bump this to 2, but I need to do more testing for that. This is my 1 flex spot. This could be Ready Rose, I suppose. It just depends. Like, this thing has come up where I want to have a level 9 turn 1 that lets you play around, like, Eldritch or something, and PKs have a really hard time dealing with this. Another thing is that, like, Ready Rose, I almost want to, if I play Ready Rose, I feel like I'm almost obligated to play Black Rose, just because, like, a Black Rose into a Ready Rose would be kind of sick, but it just, you know. Plus, this thing can revive itself, which is kind of cool, so it just depends. And then Draco Berserker, this thing is what you usually end your games with if you're not making Changing. This thing is really nice. The attack boost is permanent, so this thing is really cool to keep hold on. Dragite, you make this if you open Crazy. Baron, it's standard. And then for the Tenyis, you got 3 Monk. You could play 2. I like 3 just because it comes up, especially in the grind game. And a Shaman. This is how you play around Nibiru most of the time. And like this is the card that makes me want to cut Chao Feng, because I low-key don't have a problem with Nibiru. It might need more testing, but this thing has almost come up in clutch way more than that thing has. And yeah, that's the deck. I'll be honest with you. The deck's a lot more standardized than, say, Eldritch or Invoke, just because there's only one real way to play it. And I can say that's a good reason to not pick up the deck, because it is very linear. It just becomes less linear when you're playing it. Even though at an outside view, I would understand why you would say that it's kind of boring to watch. So yeah, if you enjoy the content, I'm going to be in the comments for a long time. This is really fun. If you have the money to pick up this deck, I would definitely recommend it. I didn't have I originally thought I wouldn't enjoy it, but after I getting a chance to play it, just shows that sometimes you gotta test new things, and you might never know what you might enjoy. So have a good one. Peace.